Good morning, everybody from Iceland. Actually, it's so early that the sun hasn't even risen over the mountaintops. But this is definitely an interesting start to a video, right? We're inside this abandoned plane. The floor is so creaky. I feel like if I walk any faster, it's gonna fall on me, you know? This is really cool. I mean, look at how run down this interior is. Basically, everything's just scrapped. Obviously, just the plain skeleton. It's all that's left. Look at this. We've got wood planks to enter the cockpit on the floor here so we don't fall in. It's almost comical. Yeah, this plane wreck isn't truly abandoned. It was basically turned into a tourist attraction, as you can probably tell from the other people around here. Yeah, look at this though, just nothing left at all. This plane wreck actually has got a really interesting story, as you know, how it actually ended up here, which I'll get into soon, but I just want to check out the back here. I guess there isn't really much to see there. So you can probably notice the random pile of rocks this plane is sitting on, these black rocks. Well, that is because this was actually not its original crash site. It originally crashed in the northeast of Iceland back in 1969, I think. And as you can probably see, this is a U.S. Navy aircraft. It's a DC-3 actually. So basically, what happened is this DC-3 took off from Keflavik Airport, which was then just an Air Force base and mostly operated by the U.S. And the aircraft was met by some crosswind upon arrival in Tórshavn, the town in northeast Iceland, and the tail wheel was not configured properly, and as the aircraft gradually slowed down on the runway, it basically rolled right off the side of the airstrip after landing. Luckily, there weren't any major injuries or anything like that, but they never did bother to repair the aircraft from the crash, and it basically sat there in northern Iceland truly abandoned for just like decades. And they did eventually remove the wings, as you can see here. And then just in July 2023, that's when they transported this wreck. They basically put it on the back of a truck and transported it all the way down here to southern Iceland to serve as a tourist attraction. Maybe to defer the tourism from the other plane wreck, because there is actually another plane wreck that isn't too far from this one, and it's like a lot more difficult to reach, and it's generally just become a tourist trap at this point, because they'll make you pay to take this bus that drives for over like 2 miles, like the actual wreck, which is just in the absolute middle of nowhere. So I decided not to go to that wreck, but to this one instead, because, well, this one isn't in its original crash site, but it is still really cool, and it's obviously a lot easier to access. The DC-3 actually has a lot of history in Iceland, and that's also one of the reasons they decided to transport this wreck down here for people to see, just to show the importance, kind of like resemble the importance of this aircraft type to the country, because it was really popular in Iceland, you know, serving as transport to the, you know, really remote areas of the country, even though this one is just a U.S. Navy aircraft. As you can see, there are even more tourists arriving, to get their perfect shot of them jumping on the plane or something, and then post it on Instagram or whatever, pretend they found a real abandoned plane. By the way, this wreck is literally labeled on Google Maps. The morning sun is really illuminating the aluminum of this old DC-3. Really looks quite beautiful, actually. The US held a pretty large military presence here in Iceland during the Cold War times, which makes a lot of sense. The other wreck is also a US Navy DC-3, by the way, but it does not look nearly as colorful as this one. So honestly, I think we made the right choice today to visit this wreck instead of the other one. And now I'll have time to visit a really cool glacier after this, instead of walking 2 hours to a piece of scrapped metal vandalized by tourists. Yeah, this is probably the better of the two plane wrecks here in southern Iceland if your daylight hours are limited. Also, these mountains are really beautiful. Would be cool if they still had the props in the engine. Look at this though, it's just a random hole. And here's what not to do as tourists. Is the Instagram shot really worth it, man? Unfortunately, people don't seem to care about the history, they just want the photo shoot. Look at the amount of people that are arriving. How do you get this many tourists visiting Iceland in February? It's funny, there's actually a sign at the entrance that says, to not climb on the wreck. Although we do have this nice little pony pasture next to the wreck. Yeah, you're probably desensitized to the amount of people filming you, right? Well, thank you guys for watching this video anyway, and I do hope you enjoyed.